Well, welcome to the 700 Club, a rare sign of unity in our nation's capital. Last night, Republicans and Democrats played a baseball game.
More than 25,000 people showed up to the game. They saw the Democrats walk away with the victory, and members of both parties put the bitterness of politics aside. Eric Rosales has more.
Democrats at bat, Teague of Texas.
It's an annual charity baseball game, a tradition dating back to 1909.
USA!
But this year, after the Alexandria shooting, which left House Majority Whip Congressman Steve Scalise in critical condition and 3 others hurt, playing meant more than charity. It was for healing. First, Democrats and Republicans gathered around second base to pray at the spot where Scalise was shot. And then a message from President Donald Trump.
By playing tonight, you are showing the world that we will not be intimidated by threats, acts of violence, or assaults on our democracy. The game will go on. I want to take a moment to send our thoughts, love, and prayers to Congressman Steve Scalise and his entire family.
And the first pitch thrown by injured Capitol Police Officer David Bailey, one of the 2 officers on the congressman's security detail who've been credited with saving his life and potentially many others. When you walk into Nationals ballpark, you not only run into Teddy here, Teddy, you also see an increased police presence both inside and outside the ballpark. There are a number of police officers walking around just to make sure everyone is safe. Many wanted to show up to the game to support America.
We've never been to a congressional baseball game before. We think this is a historic occasion, and we want to show our support, especially for Congressman Scalise, but for everybody.
And I'm tired of just seeing all the division and everything, and violence is not the way to handle the situation.
The FBI is still asking Northern Virginians for help in trying to determine a motive behind the attack. They want to speak with anyone who had contact with 66-year-old James Hodgkinson, who agents say was living out of his white cargo van in the Alexandria area since March of this year. As for Congressman Scalise, doctors say the bullet hit him in the hip and then traveled through his internal organs. Hospital staff tell CBN News he will likely undergo more surgeries. Meanwhile, the other victims, including Capitol Police Officer Crystal Griner, are expected to recover. On Capitol Hill, Wednesday's shooting jolted many lawmakers, leaving them feeling vulnerable. Some say it brought back painful memories of the shooting 6 years ago involving former Representative Gabby Giffords. CBN News spoke with several lawmakers who say it's a fine line to be available to constituents and still be safe. Many say they don't need extra security.
I like being able to hear from people, whether they agree or disagree. I want that opportunity to explain why I believe the way that I do, whether it's personal responsibility or limited government.
Others say for certain events, they wouldn't mind the extra security. The real winners, the charities of the game, which included the Capitol Police Memorial Fund. Eric Rosales, CBN News, Washington.
It's wonderful to see unity in the nation's capital, and let's hope that continues. That would be a wonderful thing. The charities received $1 million last night, and so that's wonderful news for all of them, and I'm glad that the Capitol Police are part of that. In other good news, the Russian military has claimed it's killed the top leader of ISIS. Ephraim Graham has more about that from our CBN newsroom. Ephraim?
Gordon, Russia claims a recent airstrike wiped out the leader of the Islamic State Caliphate, but Russia's foreign minister cautions, even if it's true, it does not mean the end of ISIS. As Shelley and Aaron reports, we've heard rumors before about the ISIS leader's death.
The Russian Defense Ministry believes ISIS leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi was killed in a Russian strike in late May, along with other senior group commanders. In a statement, Russia claims the airstrike was carried out during a meeting of ISIS leaders outside the group's de facto capital of Raqqa in Syria. The report of al-Baghdadi's possible death comes as ISIS suffers major setbacks. U.S. and coalition forces have been ramping up the pressure in their battle against ISIS in Syria. Secretary of Defense James Mattis told CBS News that his order from President Trump is to eliminate the Islamic terror group once and for all.
We have already shifted from attrition tactics where we shove them from one position to another in Iraq and Syria to annihilation tactics where we surround them.
Russia's defense ministry says their air raid came as ISIS leaders were plotting their escape from Raqqa as the pressure was mounting. They say the strike killed about 30 mid-level ISIS leaders and about 300 fighters. Meanwhile, a spokesman for the U.S.-led anti-Islamic State coalition says he cannot confirm reports that al-Baghdadi has been killed. Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
President Trump is looking to make good on his campaign promise when it comes to the communist island nation of Cuba. While visiting Miami today, he's announcing changes to the deal President Obama made with Cuba. President Trump's goal is to stop cash from flowing to the Cuban military and security services. The new policy would keep diplomatic relations and allow U.S. airlines and cruise ships to continue servicing the island. The United Methodist Church is raising some eyebrows after appointing its first non-binary transgender deacon. Reverend M. Barclay came out as lesbian while studying theology and training to become a Methodist minister, then later became transgender. Those years were filled with uncertainty and a crisis of belief. Barclay now does not identify with either gender and does not like the pronouns he and she. Instead, Barclay prefers to be referred to as they. This weekend, dads will open cards, gifts, and maybe even be treated to dinner for Father's Day. John Jessup introduces us to one son who's honoring his father 365 days a year.
Jonathan Hayden wears many hats: teacher, son, and now caregiver.
These are the projects that need to be taken care of. It is hard to see a man, especially a man of his stature, what he's done to see him like this.
Jonathan grew up in this Northeast Washington, D.C. neighborhood until a few years ago when he bought his own home. He had no idea a few years later he'd be back to take care of his aging mom and dad who has dementia.
I tend to think that he's maybe had signs of it for a long time. He's never been much on remembering things.
Jonathan is also part of a trend, as almost 45% of today's caregivers in America are men. 20 years ago, it was half that.
Let me tell you about the toughest guy on earth. He does the work of 2 jobs.
Jonathan admits it's a challenge, not only dealing with his father's memory loss, but also his sometimes combative personality.
My father has said some things that have hurt me to the core. Left me out of there crying.
Although it helps him learn about patience and forgiveness.
But we have to be patient with the person and recognize that they cannot control what it is that they're doing, and that is not their fault.
He credits his faith, friends, and the sense of community from a support group for caregivers, something a lot of men don't have.
Men tend to kind of suck it up, if you will, and take it in stride, not really kind of looking for the help that they need. That poses some potential health challenges.
So this looks like this may be you. Is that you?
That is me.
And who's that lovely lady next to you?
That's Jackie.
Jonathan's father says he's not perfect, but he's grateful for his son willing to step up and offer a helping hand.
Very helpful. He makes a tremendous difference,
Though it's an unexpected role, it's one he says he proudly accepts.
And there's nothing feminine or less masculine about being a caretaker, being a nurse, whatever you want to call it. You have to, because they're your parents.
John Jessup, CBN News, Washington.
Honoring thy father and mother, that thy days may be long on this earth. Gordon, happy Father's Day to you.
And happy Father's Day to you, and happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. I hope you get a wonderful day of rest.